welcome to Dakota Starry Nights, everybody. We've got a workshop here on the Skywatcher Wave 150i. Now, if you've subscribed or have seen the previous workshop we did on this, it was for visual work. And we were at a really beautiful dark site that night. Well, today we're out here in the Badlands of South Dakota, and we're going to be doing a review on this, on how it performs for astrophotography. Now, I'm using an ASI Air tonight, and what I've got here is a telescope service f11 1122 millimeter focal length. Now, this tube is demanding when it comes to a mount because you have this long inertia, and so I thought it would be a great frac to use to see what the capabilities of this is. Also, normally I'm on a carbon fiber tripod with my Carbon Star 6-inch Newt as a grab and go kind of situation that mount is, especially when you've got the strain wave here. But now for the frac, I figured with the inertia we're going to need a little beefier tripod. So I've got this old school Celestron tripod from the 80s, and this thing will give this a little more stability that it's going to require. For a guide scope, I've got just a 30 millimeter guide scope here. Now it's running around 300 millimeter focal length. I've got a TeleVue 2X 2.5 power mate on this little puppy to get it up there about 300. So this is about 1/4 of the focal length that we're imaging here at 1122. We're running like 300, so you know, more or less. So for our cam tonight, we're going to use a ASI 533 color cam. Great cam, I'm sure a lot of you guys have it, and we're going to grab a couple of targets and maybe do a couple of 5-minute subs and see how this guides. It's a little breezy right now, and that would certainly be a challenge, but I'm going to try to break the breeze by backing my truck up over here to kind of keep this a little bit more manageable. Okay, so I put a counterweight on here, and this is a 7-pound counterweight. I believe the counterweight that you can buy with the Skywatcher Wave is 11 pounds, I believe. But this package is 17 pounds. So what you're looking at here is 17 pounds, well within the limit of this mount's capability without a counterweight, which is 33 pounds. So with the counterweight, I believe you're looking at 53 pounds. Is that right, Bill? About 53?
Yes.
Okay, so it's about 53 pounds if you put the counterweight, but that's an 11-pound counterweight. We only got a 7, but I'm only doing it because I've got this long focal length tube here. Okay, so that's the whole setup of what we have here tonight. So I'm going to take you to the shop so that we can go over some of these connectors, this power board here, because it's a little daunting to some people. So we're going to get into detail on how this set up and where you can get some of this stuff. But I'll have links below, but don't feel like you're obligated to buy because I don't get any kickbacks or anything. I'm not affiliated with anybody. So let's go to the shop and we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so let's take a look at the power board here for the Skywatcher Wave 150i before we get into the actual cable placement. So here you have a 12-volt power input, and this is a 2.1 pin, and that powers the mount and the mount only. In comparison, over here you have a 2.5 pin. As you can see, it's a little fatter. The outside of these connectors are the same. It's the pins that change. So anything that goes up to the hub, which is up here, is a 2.5. Over here, this is a USB hub, and this will communicate internally with this USB hub, just as this power port that you power here communicates internally to these power outputs. You got 2 of them. Again, they are 2.5. Over here is a guide port that nobody uses anymore, that old telephone cable thing, but it's there if you have an old school cam and you're still doing it that way. This port here is for a Skywatcher hand controller that's not included with this mount. And over here is a USB connector And that is this type that you can connect to your computer or even your Air as far as that goes. However, that will not communicate with the saddle. If you connect your Air to here, it will not communicate with the saddle. Okay, so in order to communicate with the saddle and have your Air communicate with your cameras, you need to come over here. And this will allow that to happen, because by plugging in your ASI Air here, down below, that will allow USB traffic to come internally to here to go to your peripherals, whether that's a guide cam, imaging cam, filter wheel, camera rotator, those kinds of peripherals. That's what that's for. Now this only has one, so if you have multiple devices that require a USB connector, you'll have to get a hub up here to plug them all in, and then that hub will plug into here. Or if you only have two peripherals that require communication with the Air, then you can use the USB output 2.0 here on most of the ZWO cams. This is an ASI 533. However, I believe this is not a powered USB output. It's only communication. So you'll have to keep that in mind as well. And this is how I run my guide cam off here, which leaves me one extra for another peripheral. And this USB gets connected into the saddle right here, which allows communication to the Air that's down below, right there. So this doesn't move, and it's no longer on the scope. If you prefer to keep your Air on the telescope like you normally would, you certainly can do so by plugging the Air into the USB port on the saddle. That would allow the Air to communicate with the mount internally. So now let's take a look at these cables and how they interface to that control board. Cabling is a little confusing to some folks, and it's understandable. It's the first one to come out with cable management up in the saddle. So the way I've come up with it, because I've only have really two peripherals, the camera, which is here, ASI Air 533, and a guide cam, a ZWO ASI 174. Connected to an ASCAR 32mm f4 guide scope. So instead of getting a hub, because this only has one USB, I'm using the hub that's built into the camera. So this cable here is communicating to the 533, which is communicating through the saddle, which internally the saddle is communicating with the Air down here. This is a male-to-male that's connected to the Air down here. And because this is connected to the 533, you could use the hub, which I've never used before, by the way. You could use the hub to eliminate the need of getting an expansion hub up here. And you can tie up to one more peripheral here. This is an unpowered USB port. If you're going to power, and in that case, what you'll probably need to do is pick it up off here or off here. There's another power switch here. But for now, I'm just showing you how these things connect in a basic manner. So the ASI Air is down here. And again, it's connected to a shoe. And I've got a cable splitter. This is a 5 amp brick. And it's split up here. One to the mount and one to the Air. Both of these are a 2.1, the Air and the mount. The only time you start getting into the 2.5 is when you want to bring power to the saddle. Now that the Air is hot, it can operate, and then to power the saddle for a camera or anything else you have a 2.5 connector. And the 2.5 connector is getting its power coming off the Air. and going right into this board interface, which does not move again. So this 90 here is a 2.5, and this is a 2.5. So both of these are required if you're going to deal with the saddle. Guys, the explanation why they did that, Skywatcher is advising that you need to have separate power for your mount and your peripherals up here so you don't starve the mount. With a simple ASI Air and a 174 guide cam, a 5 amp brick is going to be plenty. But in situations where you have a dew heater, a camera rotator, a filter wheel, a really large cam like a full frame or something like that, yeah, you might start cutting into that voltage. And then the other thing is, depending on how heavy your package is, if you have a really heavy, you know, a 9 or inch SCAD or 11 inch SCAD or something like that with all this peripherals on it, yeah, I think you're going to probably want to have separate power just to make sure you don't starve this mount. Typically, what kills these mounts is that they're underpowered. And if you want your investment to last a long time, pick up another brick. Now this USB that's feeding the ASI Air, this would be preferred if you had a 90-degree USB connector. One of these. The reason why you want one of these is because when you have your saddle orientated normally the way it would be like this, I've turned it parallel to the ground in order so we can see the interface here. But normally it would be like this. And if your dovetail is long enough, it won't clear this cable that's here. That's why these two have a low profile 90 degrees. Now guys, I'm going to have links for these adapters that are available at Amazon and probably other websites as well. It's to give you a reference so you can get some detailed information on them when you go to buy them. So basically you want a 90 degree here, and then it could be just a straight one like down here to plug into your Air. That will give you the clearance that you need when this saddle is pointing towards the pole or slewing across this area here, as this is obviously won't work. Now if you have a scope where the saddle is above it, like right here where this locking pin for right ascension balances, then you'll be all right. But I'm sure there'll be a time or two where you're going to need that, so you might as well just get it straight away. It's kind of neat to have the Air down here on the bottom and not have to deal with that anymore. And just for me, it's just these two little guys and that's it, and I'm good. I'm golden. All right, so let's head back out to the Badlands, and I hope that clears it up for y'all. Okay guys, so we're back out here and we're going to balance this in declination, but you want to grab a hold of this thing, and it's a little kind of a tight spot here. So I use the hand controller in order to get it to get in the position I needed, because it was in Alt-Az mode. Still ain't loose yet. By the way, if you want to see an unboxing of this, you can check out that first video I did on the 150i for visual work. Oh, let's see. Oh, you got to take them completely out. Okay, so as you can see, we're too heavy that way, so it doesn't turn all that much. Now, I'm going to tell you, an easier way to do this is to put your package together at home and then get like a 1-inch dowel or a PVC Schedule 40 pipe 1 inch, and then put your dovetail on that and rock it back and forth until you get the spot you're looking for, and then mark it with a magic marker or something, or a piece of tape, and then put that in the center of your saddle, and that seems to work. Okay, so now it's saying it's too heavy that way. Now it has a positive stop, so it's only going to go, but this is tricky guys, because you know, if you're not careful, you don't have a good grip on your scope, you can drop this thing when you loosen that saddle. Okay, now it's too much that way, so we're just going to cheat it up a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty unique as far as strain wave mounts go. It's the only one I know that does this. And that seems to be about right. Yeah, that's it, guys. So it being strain wave, I mean, you don't really have to get like super dead on anyway, but if you do that, you're going to save power, and you're also going to save, you know, improve your guiding somewhat. Now this is where it gets tricky. So I'm putting one hand underneath this side and the other hand on the top, and you got to get into that hole. Okay, so you got to find that hole before you can get it in there. And then I'm doing this like this with 2 fingers to get it in there. It's not the most convenient of places to have this, but hey, it is there, and you should only have to do it once, and then mark your saddle, and then you'll know for the future. So I'm getting the other one now, and so now we got to torque it down. Bill's here with me. He had one of these, and he told me that this thing, you know, got loose on him, and I found that it got loose on me one time too when I first started to look at it for that review. So you want to really get these torqued in there. Let's see, and you should check it. Okay, that let's see. No, I don't think it should do that. Let's see. That's about as tight as I can get it. All right, that's solid. So you really got to torque those down, guys. Okay, so the right ascension pin is right here, and this knob here is to get your latitude right. Grab a hold of your mount. This one's got to come pretty far out. Now this one is a little different, guys, because this turns 180 degrees, whereas this only goes maybe 25 one way or another, but this will go at 180. Yeah, see, she's loosening up now. There. That looks like it's balanced, right? I mean, it's not swinging. Yeah, I don't feel it dropping down, you know. So we're good. There's a hole you got to line up here, so we got to kind of feel our way in there. Okay, right there, I felt it go in. Yep. Okay, be careful with that, guys, because she'll lock in like over here. Okay, show you what I'm talking about. See, I can get that to go down and see it won't move, and you might think, oh, I'm all good, but no, you'll probably throw your calibration out, because when the mount starts doing its steps, it has a different kind of homing, you know, home position. So what you want to do is just put a little pressure on that. There, I just felt it drop into the hole. So you put just a little teeny pressure and then take it home. There. All right, good. So if you've changed from equatorial mode to alt-az, or alt-az to equatorial mode, or if you happen to power the mount off before going to the home position, it's a good idea to calibrate the mount using the app. This will help with the pointing accuracy, especially for visual work. Okay, so using the app, you want to home it after you do that. So you go to your utilities, and then advance, and then auto home, and that'll calibrate it to where it goes home. And then you hit start. And that's it. And that's a pretty sweet little utility right there, guys. I'll tell you what, that'll increase your accuracy and save you a lot of grief later on. All right, fellas, I hope you found that stuff useful. We've got some more tonight. Now we're going to image. We've probably got about another hour or so before she could get dark. I got to do a polar alignment here with the air and all that, but I'm not going to record that because I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Besides, there's lots of videos out there on it. So as soon as it gets dark, I'm going to fire up the tablet and I'll share with you what's coming down through the air and the scope like I did out there for the visual review. We'll be doing the same kind of format, and we'll see how this handles this long frac. All right, we'll see you at nightfall. Alright, so we're polar aligned and we're going to go to M51, and I'm going to share the tablet here so you can see what the air is doing. So here we go. Now that's a really long focal length, and so it'll be interesting to see how 150i handles that. Okay, so the target is centered, so we will go over and get our guiding going, and see what we got here going. And now it's going to calibrate. I'll speed this up, guys, so you don't have to go through this process, because I know you all know this.
Okay, so we're at 1 arc second of error.
Okay, guys.
Not too shabby, bunch of satellites, but that's the way it is these days. I like the dust lanes in it, I'll tell you that. That's pretty nice. The stars are a little elongated.
It was running between 1 and 3/4 of an arc second.
So this first one out of the gate is not perfect here. Let's see if it doesn't straighten out a little bit better. Because of this dark sky, there's no, light pollution filter in there. That's just IR cut. And yeah, so yeah, not bad. Yeah, I got a little bit of walk there on those stars. But so far so good. I like the way it calibrated. It calibrated pretty quick, and it also was kind of nice to balance it out. It balanced it out easy. I thought it would be a lot more, kind of a hassle, you might say, but it wasn't. It was pretty straightforward.
So yeah, the mount's performing pretty good. It's such an amazing light package. It's pretty amazing. And the counterweight being only 7 pounds, it seems like all you really need for that. I think it's good to have it with that kind of long focal length. I think if I took that off, it might not be quite as good as it's doing. So
we'll grab a couple of more and see if it doesn't improve, and we'll be back. Third M51, and that's a little bit better, and we still got some satellites in there, but let's zoom in on that. That's a 5-minute sub. Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Yeah, look at that. I'm okay with that. Definitely okay with that.
let's go to another target. So we're going to go to M33, the triangulum, and we'll see what this does. Keep a good eye on her. Unless it's gonna, oh yeah, it just made over the top of my car there. So, okay, let's let it center up, and then we'll do a 5-minute sub.
That's going to fill that whole damn frame up. Yeah, look at that. Jeez. Yeah. That's a nice galaxy.
It's got a lot of nice color in it.
Yes, it does. Okay, we've started guiding on M33 there, guys, and we're going to see how it settles out. Hopefully she'll come down and we'll grab a sub here. This guiding, it's not the greatest. It's at 148. The transparency is below average. I think we may be getting some kind of low cloud cover over there, but we're going to go for this anyway. M33, 5-minute sub, and here we go. That sub coming in here, and here it comes. And there it is. There it is. That's a 5-minute sub of M33, and it's not too bad. I thought it would look a little, it's, I think, a little out of focus maybe. Yeah, just a taste, not much. But, yeah, I can live with that. You know, it was running just about an arc second. It didn't get much below an arc second the whole time, and now it's at 108. But, yeah, that's not too shabby.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this workshop. I've got the sun rising up behind me, and we've been out here all night doing visual work with that F11. It was a lot of fun. We got on a few targets that were pretty choice, including Saturn, which was really interesting. The way it's orientated now, the rings are like spikes. They look like two spikes coming off the planet. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. And hey, if you haven't subscribed, please do so, or give us a thumbs up. It helps build the channel up. Until next time, y'all stay safe, and thanks for tuning in to Dakota Starry Nights. Clear skies.